Welcome back. News of the day. I know this has been percolating online. I haven't really talked about it because I think it's ridiculous, but it's continuing to be out there. So a picture gets posted on Snapchat by somebody who claimed to be Robert Kraft's daughter. Robert Kraft or granddaughter. Robert Kraft doesn't have a granddaughter that matched the name. It was reposted by a Senators fan page and kabam, along the lines of Robert Kraft's going to buy the Senators, which has got a lot of people looking at the current attendance of the Ottawa Senators and saying, you know what, Melnick's probably going to sell. Melnick's not selling. Anytime Melnick has been asked, he has said he never intends to sell the Senators. He's not selling the Senators. The NHL isn't feeling any pressure to make him sell the team. There's no talks of it, and there's also no talks of relocation. None. He did come out, a couple winters ago and say some things that he regretted after. And I don't know if he regretted it because people reacted. I don't know if he regretted it because it was a bad choice of words. But when he was like, if people don't come out, I might as well move, the reaction was swift and sudden. And there's been a toxic relationship definitely between fans and ownership. And I don't think it's necessarily that we have an owner that doesn't like the city. I think we just have a situation where it's not good between the owner and the city. And that while there are a lot of Senators fans that would be very happy to hear Robert Kraft was buying the team, Robert Kraft has absolutely no reason to want to buy the Ottawa Senators. None. And the idea, well, he'd buy them to relocate them. Why? And where to? And you don't buy a team with the idea of relocating it. Go ask Jim Balsley how that turns out. So, or anybody who's tried buying the Arizona Coyotes with the idea of maybe moving them, they say no. So the idea that the team's going to move or the team's going to get sold, neither of them are happening. And while the attendance right now in Ottawa is abysmal, the worst that I can see happening is Melnick coming out and shaking a finger at the fans and how dare you not show up to the games. But the reality is they're not spending a lot of money on their players this year. They're going to turn a profit because they're not spending money on their players this year. And this is probably something they expected anyways. They were lowering expectations with the fan base going back to last year around this time when they decided, all right, Carlson's out and we got, all right, all these guys are going to probably end up going. So yeah, this is just a continuation. The Senators, they're not moving and they're not being sold. I haven't seen any, and again, we see these things on social media that could just have a life of their own. But until I hear it from what I consider to be reputable sources, whether it's Darren Drager, Bob McKenzie, Pierre LeBrun, one of these guys, until I hear it through one of them, anything I hear, I go, interesting, but it's just a rumor. Once I see a tweet from Bob McKenzie going, it looks like the Senators might get sold, then it's officially news. But for right now, I'm just telling fans in the area, if you've got your hopes up that the ownership's going to change, no. And if you've got a concern that the team's going to move, I don't see any reason why it would. Again, Melnick hasn't said anything publicly, and even if Melnick came out tomorrow and said, I've had enough of it here in Ottawa, I'm going to move to Houston, he'd have to get the NHL's okay. He can't just up and leave. That's not how this works. And if anybody wants to mention the Thrashers didn't have a building. So they didn't have anywhere to play that fall. That's why they suddenly had to, like a thief in the night, go to Winnipeg. In general, that's not how it works. You'll have some warning, and I haven't heard anything to tell me that anything's going to happen there with Ottawa. So, that being said, are we good? All right. The Flyers signed Chris Stewart to a league minimum contract, one-way contract, so if he gets sent to the American League, he still gets paid his NHL salary. Stewart's a decent depth option for Philly. Not 100% surprised they signed him. I'm surprised by the timing that it took into the season, but again, as injuries pile up and you start to figure out, this guy doesn't really fit in like we thought he would during the exhibition games, good on Stewart for sticking around with the team and practicing him and working his way into a roster spot. Speaking of working his way in, Kevin Fiala might be working his way out. He's a healthy scratch for the Minnesota Wild tonight. a team which had Victor Rask as a healthy scratch a few times this year as well. So Minnesota's having some issues with some underperforming players, and that's an understatement. Whether it's Donato, whether it's Fiala, or before yesterday, Victor Rask as well. A lot of guys here who are making some money, and so far we haven't seen the return on that. If you're a Wild fan, and definitely ownership wouldn't be happy about that either. Nashville news, kind of, sort of. Daniel Carr is on waivers. I don't anticipate him getting picked up, but he's on waivers to go down to the minors. Chris Kreider, who got hurt the other night, he's not expected to miss much time, but they're not really saying anything about it other than it's day-to-days, and it's not expected to be serious. So maybe now we're into a more nebulous region where when a guy gets hurt, they'll just go, eh. And speaking of which, Nico Hischier, we're kind of in territory with him too. He only played 5 minutes and 22 seconds yesterday in the game against Florida. Clearly was hurt, but they're not saying anything about it. At least John Hines wasn't after the game yesterday. And so we don't know what Hischier's status is either. Maybe that's the new thing. We'll have injured reserve, long-term injured reserve, and the meh list. We don't know. Might be in tomorrow. Might not come back. Might have retired. We don't know. They're just not around. And the team will get mad at us for asking questions. So yeah, and then I wanted to touch on low save percentages, because these are alarming numbers, and some of them, obviously, it's early in the year and all that. But Jonathan Quick at 793, needing a bounce-back year. Mackenzie Blackwood, as much as people get mad at Corey Schneider, and Schneider's numbers aren't great either, but Blackwood's at 821. His number is lower than Schneider's. UC Saros, 844. They were counting on a good year for him. Now, he started slowly last year as well. So it's worthy of note that Saros seems to be one of those guys who's a slow starter. Braden Holtby, 846. He went into yesterday with an 862. So allowing 3 goals on 3 shots, that's dragged that number down a bit. And Braden Holtby's making it a little bit easier for the Capitals to say, we'll just go with Samsonov next year, because we'll just go with him. And Laurent Brossoit, who had an amazing start last year to his season, not an amazing start this year. He's at an 850 save percentage. So these numbers will come up. These guys aren't going to stay at that number, but they've dug themselves into a bit of a hole, especially in Quick's case, below 800. That means there's a better chance of 1 in 5 that a shot on net's going to go in when Quick's in there right now. He's got to turn that around. We'll see if he's in tonight, if he's going to turn that around starting tonight, or if Campbell's going to end up being the starter sooner rather than later. Again, they've got a perfectly good Cal Peterson waiting in the American League. I'm not understanding. I'm not getting it. But anyways, there you go. News of the day. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And let me know how you guys feel about the whole saga of the Senators. And it just feels like at this point, anytime people can take a shot at Ottawa, they do it. And for me, I try not to. I did that so much last season that I don't want to do that this year. This year it feels like it's different. It feels like the team's, on its way now. They've got some young kids on their way up. They've already got young guys in the lineup like Brandstrom, like Tkachuk. And so you've got at least a nucleus of what could be a good team coming up, and they're going to get a good draft pick this year. So, I don't know about turning the corner, but at least we're not talking about guys like Duchesne and Carlson and Hoffman and all these guys who now are gone. So thank you guys so much for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And jumping back over to Patreon, thank you, Anthony Garcia, for your support on Patreon and in helping to enable this channel to grow and all of that wonderful stuff. I don't talk about Patreon very much on here because I know it's talked about a lot on a lot of channels. I know it's in the description below all of my videos, and so I don't really talk about it. And I don't talk about our Discord either. I do want to share this at the end. I'm very proud of the Discord server and the people who help keep it together and keep it running. I'm not on it very much at all. I'm apologetic for that. I remember when the Discord server was set up for me by a friend of mine at work. He was like, "Oh, you got a YouTube channel. You need to have a Discord." And I'm like, "What's Discord?" And he sets it up. He goes, "Yeah, so here you go, and you just do this and this." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that was about, I want to say, 2 years ago, and it was over 2 years ago, and to this day, Discord is something that I probably should be a little bit more involved with, especially while watching hockey games. So, but if you're on the Discord server, again, the support is appreciated, and if you're not, there's a link to that in the description below all of my videos as well. Everything's in the description, and yeah. I've also had people asking again about where I get my jerseys, who puts together the magnets. Hint, it's me. Used to be Yvonne and me, and mostly Yvonne. Now it's me. I put the magnets together. She's got enough stuff to do with the kids. She doesn't need me bugging her to make magnets, so I don't. But yeah, there will be a video on that soon as well, where I go through like all of the props I use and the jerseys and all the sources and all that. Because every now and then it's good to do that and update with anything new that may not have been in the previous video I did where I talked about that. So thank you guys so much for all your support. And there will be other video goodness today as well. And on the Entertainment Guy, I will be doing my NFL Power Rankings, which will generate a ton of talk today, I would imagine. But hey, that's the way things work when it comes to Power Rankings. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you again soon.